Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am Bharti Bajaj and I am a medical student from India, and I share about my life and my experiences and the things I've learned and everything else. So today's video is a book review on this book, which is The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael Singer. Now, this book was recommended to me by Elizabeth Phillips. She did not recommend it to me personally. I saw it in one of her videos, which was about life-changing books that everyone should read. And since I follow her religiously, and she is one of the best YouTubers, she's changing the paradigm about everything: productivity, habits, organization, and how people who are not good with habits can also be successful in life. So please check out her channel. Anyway, let's get to the book review. This book is about spirituality. If I had to classify it in a single genre, I would say it is in the spirituality genre. And now it sounds very heavy, and if you're curious about spirituality but still intimidated by that word, I think it's the perfect reason to pick this book up, because it is very simple and it puts spirituality and your spiritual journey and your connection with yourself, all of this in very simple everyday terms, which is very easy to understand. Whether you're already into all of this spirituality, I know I wasn't. I started reading these books because I'm an anxious, neurotic, existential kind of person, and I used to question everything from scratch. And I used to go into ruminating downward spirals about all of these things very frequently. So I started looking up books that could actually help me in this manner, and then Elizabeth recommended this book. Yeah, whether you're a spiritual person or you're just an anxious person like me who just wants to read books that will help them not feel that way, I think this book is a good read. And even if you're a normal person who is just interested in self-discovery and getting to know themselves better and becoming the best version of themselves, I think this book is a good read. It has 5 parts, which are awakening consciousness, experiencing energy, freeing yourself, going beyond, and then the last part is about living life. So he starts the book with a chapter called The Voice Inside Your Head, and in that he explains that the constant chattering that goes on in our minds, you can treat it like an inner roommate, like you're living with someone else, and then just listen to it for one whole day. Listen how the mood of that person changes, how he says one thing in one instance and that completely contradicts himself in the other moment. And if you just observe your inner roommate, your inner mind for one day, you'll realize that it is a very stupid person and you've been listening to it all your life and it has been driving you crazy, and that you don't have to suffer that way. And if you just choose to let your inner roommate be and focus on yourself, which is also the principle of meditation, which I talked about in my previous video. If you haven't watched the video, I'll link it here. Anyway, the principle is to just observe your inner roommate, which is your thoughts, your feelings, and then just being present with all of that, and eventually you're going to free yourself from the suffering that is the human mind. As he goes on, he tells what it is like to have stored experiences and stored trauma from your childhood and from your past, and how it is unknowingly guiding you and ruling over your life. And then he provides very simple explanations for all of this, and in very simple terms explains how you can not let that affect your life, and how you can actually heal from everything that has ever happened to you. The most striking feature of this book to me is its simplicity and its intuitiveness and the flow that is had. It's almost like the words don't have individual meaning. It's almost that they're just playing a part in explaining the bigger metaphor, the bigger meaning to all of us, which is also what the author says we are all doing on this earth. We're just playing a part in the collective uplifting of the collective that is humanity. This book contemplates life, death, God, and everything in between, and it will ask you big questions like who are you, and then it will go ahead and answer all of those in like very simple terms. It has rightly said that once you become a spiritual person, life doesn't change, but you do. Your approach to life, your approach to the ups and downs, the challenges of life, the good and the bad, it fundamentally changes for the better, and it expands your consciousness horizontally and vertically and in every direction possible. This book essentially tells what it's like to be a spiritual person. I am going to quote it. The process of seeing something requires a subject object relationship. The subject is called the witness because it is the one who sees what's happening. The object is what you're seeing, in this case, the inner disturbance. This act of maintaining objective awareness of the inner problem is always better than losing yourself in the outer situation. This is the essential difference between a spiritually minded person and a worldly person. Worldly doesn't mean that you have money or stature. Worldly means that you think that the solution to your inner problems is in the world outside. You think that if you change things outside, you'll be okay. But nobody has ever truly become okay by changing things outside. There's always the next problem. The only real solution is to take the seat of witness consciousness and completely change your frame of reference. He gives you an invitation to adapt to the spiritual path in life, which sounds very fancy and very religious, but it truly isn't. It is just about being mindful and watching life unfold before you instead of controlling it and frantically running in all directions like a monkey, which I used to do all the time. So yeah, spirituality, in my opinion, is just about that. Another feature of this book is the repetitiveness of the simple truths. I think the author has tried to hammer the simple concepts into our brain by repeating them constantly, so that by the end of the book you have kind of taken all of it subconsciously and you kind of start believing that yes, it is actually the inner problem that needs to be fixed and not the outer problem. In the end, even an anxious person like me started to believe that maybe it is easy. Another big compliment for this book is, although it's a spiritual one, the language is not toxic positive. It doesn't say that everything is always going to be alright, or that you're going to manifest everything that you want, or like life is easy. It doesn't say all that. It states the hard truths exactly as they are, and I think that is a big compliment, like the way it balances tough love with gentle curiosity and gentle firmness. I think that is exactly what the Tao is about. These undertones of calm firmness can only come from a person who has himself lived in a very centered way all his life, and himself lived the Tao that he very beautifully describes in the last chapter. The Tao, if you don't know about the Tao is a way of living described in the Japanese spiritual teachings, especially by Lao Tzu, whom I love. I love all his quotes and they are so calming and reassuring. The whole concept is that you imagine a pendulum, and the more you take it to the extreme left, the more it is going to swing to the extreme right. It's just going to keep swinging in both directions, and this is going to waste a lot of energy. A true balance and true equilibrium exists when the pendulum is in the center, and this beautiful center is what they call Tao in Japan. And according to the wise teachers of earth and heaven, the best way to live is to live in the Tao. When you're only in the center, that's where you have a balance of the yin and the yang, the feminine and the masculine, the dark and the light, everything. So he describes that very beautifully by saying, neither extreme can last. How long can a pendulum stay at one of its outermost positions? It can only remain there for a moment. How long can a pendulum stay at rest? It can remain there forever because there are no forces moving it out of balance. That is the Tao, it is the center. How do you stop the pendulum from swinging to the outer edges? Amazingly enough, you do this by leaving it alone. It won't keep swinging to the extremes unless you feed the extremes with energy. Just let the extremes go. Don't participate in them, and the pendulum will naturally come towards the center. As it comes to the center, you will get filled with energy. This is because all the energy that had been wasted is now available to you. I'm not saying that this singular book has healed me completely, but I think the teachings are going to be in the back of my mind, and they're going to act as a catalyst, and it's going to serve as a good reminder, and I can always come back to the cute sticky tabs that I put on it to remind myself of the simplicity of life and to reassure my ever neurotic monkey mind. I think if you don't want to buy a physical copy, this is one of those books which are great even if you're listening to them like an audiobook, because it has this great captivating sense of flow. You're not going to be distracted. It is going to be fairly easy to follow. If I find one, I'll link it in the description. And I got this book from Amazon, but somehow some pages of it were like not printed at all, so I had to look up a PDF of the book and then write the whole pages down manually. So anyway, I don't mind doing this. It gives a personal touch to the book, but I found a free PDF of this book online, so I'm going to link that in the description if you just want to read it briefly before actually buying it. And yeah, I think you should buy this book. So that was it about The Untethered Soul, my recent read, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.